Okay, it is 6 o'clock. We have quorum. This Board of Adjustments meeting for the City of Socorro is now in session.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, establishment of quorum. I'll be taking roll call. Ben Aras.
Here.
Jesus Miguel Chaides, absent. David Oropesa.
Here.
Jesus Ruiz.
Here.
Albert Lagunas.
Here.
Miriam Cruz, absent. We have quorum with 4 members present. Moving on to item number 3, excuse absence commissioner members. Do I have a motion?
Motion to excuse.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion made by Ben Aras to excuse and second by Albert Lagunas. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 4, reading of the Board of Adjustment statement. Mr. Ruiz, could you please read the statement?
The Zoning Board of Adjustment of the City of Socorro is now in session. This board is established under Article 211.008 of the Texas Local Government Code and Chapter 2, Division 5 of the Code. In appropriate cases and subject to appropriate conditions and safeguards, this board is empowered to make special exceptions or grant variances to the terms of the zoning ordinance that are consistent with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance in accordance with any applicable rules contained in the ordinance, and to hear appeals that allege an error on an order, requirement, decision, or determination made by an administrative official in the enforcement of the code. Your application or appeal will be decided only after you have had the opportunity to present evidence before the board for its consideration. Other parties interested in your case may also be heard at this time. No consultation among board members has been held in advance regarding your case. This board does not act in an arbitrary manner. You may be sure full consideration will be given to your case, and following this hearing, you will be promptly notified of the board's decision.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. Moving on to item number 5, swearing of all people giving testimony. Mr. Ruiz?
Okay. If you are here to give testimony, will you please rise and raise your right hand? Si van a dar testimonio, algún caso, si se pueden levantar, parar y levantar su mano derecha. Sí. ¿Juran decir la verdad y nada más que la verdad? Yes. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, consider and take action on the approval of meeting minutes of May 25th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
I have a motion made by Jesus Ruiz to approve and seconded by David Oropesa. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 7, consider and take action on the proposed variance request to Municipal Code Chapter 46-293 D related to the minimum side setback required on 10425 Ethelhard, Socorro, Texas 79927. Mr. Valderrama?
This gentleman is not in. I did reach him today, and he's not ready, and he's out of town.
So during this past month or so, he wasn't available at all to meet, to go over anything?
I finally went and met with him, took pictures, and we looked at it. We did refer him several engineers. He does need a lot of work on that. And quite frankly, he didn't comply, and he's not ready.
Mr. Ruiz, I would like to take this moment to acknowledge that Ms. Miriam Cruz arrived at 6:05. You may continue.
My apologies to everyone for being late.
It is up to you if you guys want to take action on it. I mean, it's been on the board, but he's not ready.
So at this point, what would your recommendation be?
I would say give him some time. I don't see it happening because he had 2 months. But again, to be fair, you know, but in the long run, it's been a few years on that one.
Has it been 6 years?
Sir?
Has it been 6 years?
No, I don't think it's been 6 years. It's been, what, 2? At least 2?
Since he was
2000 yeah,
notified.
July of 21. Yeah. It's up to you. I mean, again, I don't see him doing anything yet. And 2 months, he didn't do what we instructed him to do. But again, I'll leave that up to you guys if you want to hear it, put an end to it, or just wait. He did request that, so
He's requesting us to table it. Okay.
I motion to table.
6, 7.
Yeah, I second that
I have a motion made by David Oropesa to table and second by Ben Aras. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
I'll abstain.
Any abstain?
Do we make the wrong motion? Are we okay?
No, so we're just double checking because the ordinance just changed recently on what passes, what doesn't pass. And it says the concurrent vote of at least 75% of the members, 4 members of the board is necessary to reverse an order requirement decision, decide in favor of, or authorize a variation. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so it says that the concurring vote of at least 4 members is necessary to reverse an order, requirement, decision, or determination, decide in favor of an applicant, or authorize a variation. I think you can actually then table it because there's no action being taken and there's none being denied, so you can table it. But yes, when it does come up for a vote, it does require at least 4 yeses, or 4 noes, basically.
I have a question, point of clarification. Are we tabling it for a specific amount of time?
Yeah, that was gonna be my comment. I know that we tabled it basically to the next meeting. Did you have a specific time frame that you want to table it for? Give them more time, just give them a
You
month?
said you gave them 2 months already, correct?
it's been 2 months since the last time we dealt with it, and I gave him the list, and
Has he done anything?
according to him, 4 said no, they wouldn't come to his house and take a look at it. Ray, one of the engineers, said that supposedly he's coming in this weekend, but I mean, I would say, just a suggestion, till next month.
I
I
agree
mean-
to that. I think we should table it till next month and see what he has to say to us.
And I'll get in touch with him in the next few days and just tell him, it's dragged on, and he knows what he needs to do. He just hasn't done it.
I have a motion made by David Oropesa to table for next Board of Adjustment meeting. Do I have a second? I have a motion made by David Oropesa to table for next month. BOA meeting, seconded by Ben Aras. All those in favor of the motion? Any nays?
No.
No.
Any abstain?
Do you think he's gonna take any action?
Yeah.
Motion carried. Moving on to item number 8, consider and take action on the proposed variance request to Municipal Code Chapter 46-293 D, related to a minimum side and rear setback required on 11661 Yamaha Drive, Socorro, Texas 79927. Mr. Valderrama?
Last time we spoke, I hadn't had a chance to look at the roof, and one of the things you guys requested for me is take pictures to see if there was any water going to be shedding to the property in the back. And there's some pictures that, are they available to them? If you guys can take a look at them, see what you guys think. Water will not be shedding in the rear property, so that's not a factor. Other than that, it's up to you what you guys want to do with.
What will be your recommendation, sir? What will be your recommendation?
Well, as you guys had pointed out, that you guys didn't have an issue with the wall being on the fence because it's not encroaching. Again, to me, we see properties like that everywhere. Are they okay that way? No, not necessarily. But this one happens to be that way, and we see them throughout the city. So I would say as long as water is not shedding behind the property, you know, but again, I'm relying on you guys to look at it from your perspective.
I think the hardest part is that if we let this go, I mean, where's the line drawn? And it's right on the property line, and, I mean, then we opened up ourselves to the president's.
Yes.
So I would say that he needs to remove it and follow the variance.
And on that note, if that's your recommendation, I don't know if you have that, the ordinance 46-239, accessory structures, going back to the 5 feet, you might look at it. Do you have that?
I don't imagine that we have the full ordinance. We have like the pictures and stuff, right?
Mr. Ruiz, I just want to take the time to mention that to the applicant and resident by Yamaha also want to testify.
Okay, well, we can get to them right now then. Thank you.
The-
But yeah, we don't have the ordinance, like the full ordinance
You
here.
don't, the ordinance that's here, it says, "No accessory structure excluding fence or wall shall be closer to any property line than required by setback. However, an accessory structure may be as close as 5 feet to the property line," which is, on the last time that we spoke, I had mentioned, you do have this picture. And I even got a better picture this time, because I was able to get in. Where you have this picture, where you see that, the original roof line, that's the original wall. For them to remove this new part, that's what you guys are going for, if you were to allow the actual ordinance, of course. It's up to you.
So this was never, there was never a permit pulled for it, there was never.
For all this
inspection-
work, no.
And no inspection at all, so.
No, for all this work, no.
And if I can jump in, if you guys don't mind, so, and some of you may have gone through some of this training with the city or may not have, but I'll just kind of remind you, so the standards on these kind of cases is what you're looking at. And I'll read it from the statute, from the ordinance, 2.174 from the city ordinances. It says if you're gonna authorize deviations, the standard is you can authorize in specific cases a deviation from the terms of the zoning ordinance if the deviation is not contrary to the public interest and due to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship, and so that the spirit of the ordinance is observed and substantial justice is done. So I know I said threw a bunch of words, but it's 3 or 4 things you're looking at, not just this case, but all the cases that come in front of you. So there needs to be substantial hardship, that there's something against the public interest, and that the spirit of the ordinance is being observed, substantial justice is done. So that's really the 3 or 4 things that you're looking at on each case.
And this structure, it's a living space, or is it?
No, it's a garage, it's an accessory. It's an accessory building. And, like I say, the original wall, as you can see, is easily the 5 feet away, because you can see the roof line and where the original wall is. And you can also see on this picture where the wall is, where the actual soffit from the original roof is, and this is yet an extension to allow that larger vehicle to fit. And your concern the last time was that the water wouldn't fall on the neighbor, which it won't, it has a gutter. But again, it's up to you guys. I mean, you're right, as far as setting precedent, but again, we're relying on your judgment on this.
Can I ask a question? I believe last time, if my memory serves me right, because it has been a little bit, actually, I have my notes. I thought because these look like the same old pictures, did we ask for new pictures?
Yes, ma'am. No, these are new pictures. The ones with the roof line, and where it's got the gutter. The concern that you all had last time was if the water, because I couldn't see this right here, so I finally got access to this area, and whatever water is shedding from the main roof is falling onto here, and then it's falling on a gutter. So,
Right, and so I guess my concern is that we're seeing the top of it, but this is the incomplete, right? The next picture after that,
Mhm.
with the tree in it, that's an incomplete, that's an old photo, that's not what it
yes,
looks
that's
like
an
right
old
now?
photo, yes, ma'am.
So we don't have a picture of an angle from this side, right?
You have, yes, ma'am, you have this one?
Right, but I can't see the top.
Well,
Or the end, I guess, or the beginning.
well, because I was standing on a ladder, kind of taking a picture like this at the edge.
I see.
And as you can see, this top corner, that's the gutter. And then as you look towards the end, it's all flat. So,
I mean, it doesn't matter if it has a gutter on the other side, it's a flat surface. The roof ends 5 feet before it reaches a wall, so the water still doesn't go into the
yeah,
next door neighbor.
no, it doesn't go.
Does the next door neighbor have a complaint against this, or
She's right.
you do? Okay.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Valderrama before we allow the 2 ladies to speak?
No, we're good.
No, from us to you. So basically, you went out there, you didn't have any issues getting there, it was accessible, you were able to do your job. The concern that the board had last time, you went out there, you looked into it, you took your pictures, provided them to us. None of any. But the concern that the board had last time, you were able to see what the concern was and that it wasn't an issue.
Exactly.
That's what you're reporting back. Okay. Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, I did have a question. Sorry, just to follow up. So, I believe the variance, the action, is talking about a 25-foot setback. You mentioned a 5. When you say the 5, that's because the ordinance changed? Or,
On the ordinance, the 25 feet setback is for the house. For an accessory, it could be as short as 5 feet.
Okay,
And that's why I was reading. And I'm sorry that we didn't have the ordinance available for you. I do have it here. I mean,
I actually think it may have been in the last, oh, maybe not.
yeah, the ordinance on that is,
These were like the orders that we were gonna come out with the rules and stuff.
it's 46-239, where it says, no accessory structure excluding fence or walls shall be closer to the property than the required setbacks. However, an accessory structure may be as close as 5 feet to the property line.
And an accessory structure is usually defined as one that's detached from the home.
Yes, and
And
this one,
is it,
this one is detached from the home.
how far would you say that it's the furthest from the home? How much space is there between?
5 feet,
From the home
From
to
the home.
that structure?
5 feet. So if they would have made it, it would have been touching the house, which is why they moved the other way.
But
So-
there's only 5 feet between the house and the,
And the accessory,
okay. And is that code compliant?
it doesn't violate it, but you really realistically wouldn't want that.
Well, my concern is that typically the reason for a setback is for the safety, I mean, of many reasons, but
Yes,
one of them is in case of a fire, that fires aren't gonna be jumping from home to home as easily because of winds or whatnot. And so if we are, giving a variance on that setback and then it's only 5 feet away from the house, I mean, I think that would be one of the many concerns, correct?
Realistically, yes.
Okay, thank you.
What do we have available? We have the owner, correct? What is her name?
Ms. Campuzano?
Ms. Campuzano, algo que tenga que decirnos, si quiere pasar acá al frente para el micrófono, por favor. Para que los miembros de la comisión también le puedan preguntar sus preguntas.
Sí, buenas tardes. Pues no, estoy aquí
Buenas.
presente para escuchar la decisión que ustedes tomen. Como yo les dije anteriormente, yo estoy en la mejor disposición de hacer los arreglos necesarios para no molestar a mis vecinos. No creo que sea tan amplia la extensión de molestia porque el terreno tiene de espaldas, vamos a decir, si estoy ocupando 25 pies, tiene 80 pies, entonces son 25 que estoy recargada a la espalda, pero con una cosa bien hecha. Yo veo con lindancia conmigo, pues lo están, ¿verdad? Y yo respeto. La vez pasada se habló aquí que si todas las que ustedes me dijeron que si las cosas estaban como yo lo había dicho, que el agua cae para mi terreno, que no se le va polvo, que la propiedad tiene un parapeto, que no se hizo a capricho, se hizo porque para las necesidades del mueble que metimos no quedó el garage y si lo pegaba para acá pues pega a la propiedad y no deja dos salidas de emergencia a la casa. Entonces yo estoy en la mejor disposición de si ustedes me dicen, lo que sí no estoy en la posición de querer remover algo que para mi familia fue un sacrificio muy enorme, físico y económico. Físico y económico porque nosotros lo hicimos con nuestras manos y se pueden ver, soy gente de trabajo, asoleada, entonces a capricho no se me hace justo. Pero es su decisión y mi disposición es ponerle los arreglos necesarios, pero no destruir lo que hemos hecho a base de esfuerzo. Queremos un socorro progresivo, bonito, no fue a capricho pegarme, pero él ya estuvo en mi propiedad y mira que es una propiedad de familia tranquila, no somos familia que buscamos problemas, entonces nada más queremos vivir cómodo y que sea un socorro próspero, por eso nos decidimos venirnos a Socorro, para que sea una comunidad limpia, bonita, o sea, que crezca. No somos gente acumuladora de estar ahí llantas o nada, es limpieza total. No fue a capricho y nos esforzamos por tener lo que hemos hecho, entonces yo nomás espero su decisión. Gracias.
Does anybody have questions, Ms. Campuzano?
¿Se acuerda cuánto más o menos le costó hacer este?
Alrededor de, sin contar mano de obra, porque lo hicimos mi esposo, yo y un hijo, $25,000 aproximadamente.
Sí,
Entonces,
gracias.
removerlo sí es algo tremendo para la familia.
Gracias.
Ok.
Yes, Ms. Dominguez, Susana Dominguez.
Good afternoon. My name is Susana Dominguez, and I'm the owner of the property adjacent to the ladies. Since we saw the structure being built, I did go and talk to them, and I told them, and I had already by then talked to Mr. Valderrama, and there was a stop on the construction of it because it was still not finished. I did let her and the husband know that they shouldn't be building because it was still going to be put up to, to you all to decide on this. And pretty much their words were, we can do whatever we want. I think whether we're in the city, there's city's laws, state laws, and federal laws. And I think if we all abide by them, everybody should be doing the same. If I abide by them, you or whoever, then everybody should be doing the same. If you set a precedent where this goes through, I think it's going to just bring a lot more issues to your board than what the one issue right now is. Pretty much they built straight onto the wall of my property. Yes, there might be a gutter or whatever you want, but eventually the water is going to drip into my home. They took away part of the wall to build on top of that. So they're pretty much built on top of the wall. Okay, okay, as far as money, yeah, they might have money to make whatever they want, but I think we all should abide by the laws that are written. Because if all I'm not going to say this but some people think because they have money and because they come from across the border that they can do whatever they want, because unfortunately in Mexico, that's what it's done. You have the money to do it, you go ahead and do it. But I think here in the U.S., we have to abide by the state statutes that have been, and there are precedent on it, okay? If I'm gonna build, I'm gonna be given the 5 feet or the 25 feet or whatever it is, so why should one person, just because they have the money to build something, be given the option to break the law? I don't see that right. I don't see that right, and it is my property. I think anybody and it's affecting my property, because first of all, they cut part of the yard, part of the wall. Okay, and, I just don't see, first of all, they didn't get permits for this, and that, they didn't, once they were cited and whatever, given their whatever fines or whatever, they still continued building. Okay, they didn't take into consideration the law at all when they already were cited and told that they could not continue doing this. They just went ahead because they think they can do it, and I don't think that's right. Thank you.
Oh, I have some questions for you. You don't mind? Do you mind?
I'm sorry?
Do you mind if I ask you?
No,
some
go ahead,
questions?
ma'am.
When you mentioned the wall that you built on top of the wall, was that your wall?
That
Or was
wall sits on my property. My parents live next door to the property. We've been there since almost 45 years, okay? And they were not the owners of that property. It was an older gentleman, somebody else. My dad built the wall. The other person put the materials, but that is sitting on our property. The wall itself is sitting on our property.
And when you say that, do you mean that your understanding was that it wasn't to divide the properties and it wasn't put sort of on the line, it was put on the property? On your?
Yeah, it's part of the wall is sitting on my line of the property.
Okay. And have you ever gotten your property surveyed?
No, not recently.
And, sorry, a few more questions. And you mentioned that when they were told to stop building, that they continued anyway. Do you remember when they first started building, to your knowledge?
I don't remember that, but when my neighbor, where I own the property, my neighbor to the side, his name is Ramon Lara, he came to the city to let you all know that was starting that construction. That was since last year, sometime last year. And then he brought it to my attention, because I really don't go out there a whole lot. So he brought it to my attention, and that's when I contacted the city of Socorro, and I spoke to Mr. Valderrama about it. And I did find out that they had been fined, and that they had some, I don't know what it's called, but it's, I guess, a citation and stop work or whatever to be done until it was decided what needed to be done. And maybe a couple weeks later after that, I was at the property, and there were various gentlemen and, various guys and the husband and everybody else. And I did confront him, and I told him, you were told you cannot continue construction until this is, I guess, seen by the board or whatever method was gonna say. And pretty much that's what he says, like, that they could do whatever they want.
Okay.
And I did take pictures of that day and everything, but I didn't bring.
And my last question is, other than, obviously, your concerns about the continued building even after the citation and the fact that it goes against the ordinances, is water falling into your property your only concern regarding the structure, or are there any other concerns?
No, another, like it was mentioned before, what if there's a fire? Right now I have a older mobile home there. It's, nothing major. Okay, but if I build a home there, which I plan to build rental properties there, am I gonna be allowed to be as close? If you all say okay to this, then I'm gonna assume I can do the same thing. So when I build my rental property, I'm gonna put it real attached to the wall, to the line of the property too, because you're gonna set a precedent for that. And then what if there's fire on either side? Then, both structures are in danger now. So yes, I'm also afraid if there's a fire, wind that could bring over, material over to my property because it's so close. Anything falls, it's gonna fall on my property because there's not that gap between our line and her building. There's no gap for anything to fall into her property. Everything's gonna fall into my property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have some more questions for you, ma'am.
Yes. You said that that's your wall. You built that rock wall there.
My dad.
So it belongs to you.
It sits on part of a property line.
Yes. But he built it.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Your dad built it, right?
Yes, my dad built it.
Oh,
40
okay.
about 45 years ago.
Oh, okay.
It's como de bloque.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I was seeing it here. And the other question I was gonna have to Mr. Valderrama, how high is the rock wall supposed to be?
Actually, there, you can go up as high as 8 feet. In this case, I believe it's about 5 feet.
And they built over it. How high is it right now?
Right now, it's about 5 feet where they lowered it and then they took off the wall going up.
I have a question, because you
Sí.
said you were on a ladder. I'm sorry. You said you were on a ladder,
Yes, ma'am.
but you're about 5'11",
5'10".
10?
5'10".
So I guess it looks taller than 5 feet.
This right here? I can actually look over the fence.
The rock wall, you mean?
Even the
The
middle
center?
part?
No, not the middle part. You were asking about the fence, right?
Yeah, the fence. How
The fence.
high is it supposed to be?
I mean, you
By
can-
city code?
By the
What's-
city code, you can go up as high as 8 feet on your back.
Okay, but it's higher than that right now, is it?
Well,
I think he's talking two different things. The width and
The
the.
rock wall
extension
plus the
of
fence.
wall,
Yeah,
that
it's
would be
higher
taller.
than that.
Yes.
What is it, about 8 feet, 9 feet?
I'm gonna say about 9 feet, maybe even 10,
It's
maybe even 10.
So we have to go by the code, right? And that's not abiding by the code the way it is right now.
It would have to be lowered to.
Yes,
8
it
feet
does.
if that's the
Yes,
case.
it does.
And then the space between their building or whatever they build and the property line, that's another ordinance that everybody should follow.
Yeah, I understand.
I might add
Is there any utilities in that is there utilities in there? Is there electricity, water, gas inside of that
No,
structure?
it's just a garage.
I know, but there's-
Water, electricity, I would imagine for lights.
Okay, so I think my biggest concern would be, one, that there was never permits for the electricity. There was never permits for the structure. You gotta pull permits, and you have to pull, inspections. Having your tío, your tía, your cousin come in and wire, it's a hazard, not only a hazard for the residents, a hazard for the public. And it needs to be done. That's my biggest concern. And there was never permits and never any type of inspection done. So if they were to actually pull permits, I don't think any of this would pass because nobody was there licensed to do this. I'm gonna say that they would have to either go and pull a permit and have it inspected, and if it passes, well then, okay. And if it doesn't pass, well then, it's gotta be removed.
So right now, what we're trying to figure out is just those 5 feet, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And again, the reason I mentioned that, because when I got into the case, based on this picture, this was code enforcement that went out there. When I went out there, this is the day that I went, and it's pretty much finished. It's not, it doesn't have the stucco on it, but the metal is already there.
So right now, her only solution would be to take off those 5 feet, that's it.
To me, I mean, my gut feeling, yes, because the building was already there, at least when I got there. This is what was added, but again,
So right now, what we're trying to figure out is just if those 5 feet stay or not. Yes?
it is up to you guys. Yes.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I could see, because they did violate, they did build that without any permits. The initial building was already there, to my understanding. It's not of the same vintage as what was being added.
Okay.
So that's where I get on that particular ordinance, is because as you see the wall over there, that's the only reason that I bring it up. Not that that's what I'm telling, hey,
Okay.
go ahead and do that and tear everything down.
So right now, we're just trying to figure out what the code enforcement went out there to do. And
stop 'em?
to stop,
To stop them.
and then to take off those 5 feet that are breaking ordinance, right?
And
Code.
that's why we're here.
Okay,
because of
and
the
that's what we're trying to figure out right now.
Exactly.
Okay, so unfortunately, code wasn't enforced, or it wasn't met. So I motion to take off those 5 feet.
I second it. We need to remove that because the rock wall belongs to her. She built it, and it's on her rock wall. It needs to be removed.
And part of it was removed, and they actually.
Yes, I'm saying, yeah.
So they said it was a both party deal there. So let's just motion for those 5 feet right now.
Okay.
So I think to clarify for the record then, because it's a variance request, is that the motion is to deny the variance request for the 5 feet.
Correct.
I have a motion made by David Oropesa to deny, and second by Albert Lagunas. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Any nays?
I'm-
Any abstain?
I'm going to abstain because I had more questions.
Motion carried. Moving on to item number 9, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion made by Miriam Cruz to adjourn, second by Ben Aras. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned at 6:39. Thank you all for.